Surah 107 of the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Ma'un, is sometimes translated as the surah referring to simple assistance. Many would wonder what exactly this chapter of the Holy Quran refers to. But if ever you wanted to see a social manifesto in relation to Quranic thought, then no doubt the best of chapters is Surah Al-Ma'un. Because Surah Al-Ma'un wanted to answer a question that many Muslims ask today. What exactly does it mean to be religious? Many of us are on the assumption that being religious means praying and fasting all the time. Indeed, you'll find with many of us, the external appearance of an individual is more important than the internal. Many times we care about outward appearances than we care about the inward. Many times we're more concerned if people publicly seem to speak religiously than they are privately. And indeed, you therefore find that many a Muslim is sometimes bemused when people who pray and fast the whole day, yet offer nothing to charity and nothing to the poor and nothing to the orphan, are seen as being religious. Indeed, the Muslim community can be an extremely judgmental community, and people of religion can be generally. And you find that many a time, if we were to see a Muslim sister, for example, at our mosque who does not wear the scarf, we may straight away assume that she is not religious. Yet you find that she may be the first to help out the poor, the first to stand with the orphan, and indeed the first to be there to comfort the needy. Indeed, therefore, what is the meaning of religious is something which Surah Al-Ma'un wanted to highlight. Because Surah Al-Ma'un has some really important as well as somewhat stunning lines. فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ, as an example, is a line which is attacking those who pray. Yet how could you attack people who pray? Surely everyone who prays is someone loved by God. Or are there a segment of people who are hypocritical in their prayers, who show off in their prayers, whose prayers have had no effect on them? Indeed, you find certain people, when you look at them, they do pray the whole time and they do fast the whole time, but the social needs of man they are not concerned with, Muslim or non-Muslim. Therefore, Surah Al-Ma'un was that chapter which wanted to remove the hypocrisy of the so-called outwardly appeared religious human being. Indeed, on the outward appearance, you'd look at someone and you'd straight away think that they must be extremely religious. Yet Surah Al-Ma'un wanted to say that, listen, a religious person is one who socially is willing to change the course of history, who two is concerned about those who are in difficult positions, and who three is willing to give away from themselves, not just towards their Lord, but to humanity at large. Loving humanity is to love God. Serving humanity is to serve God. But being rude and disrespectful to humanity is rudeness and disrespect to God. Amongst the benefits of reciting Surah Al-Ma'un, there are many. But I think of the interesting narrations in relation to Surah Al-Ma'un has to be the narration where the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his family mentions that when a person recites Surah Al-Ma'un, Allah accepts their prayers and accepts their fasts. Someone asks, what does this mean? As in, couldn't this be for any chapter of the Holy Quran? Surah Al-Ma'un in particular tries to show you that, you know what, the more you reflect on the fact that we're not looking for your outward prayer, we're looking for what the prayer builds you into. We're not concerned if you pray the nawafil and you pray the sunnah prayers, you pray salat al-layl, you pray 51 rak'ahs a day, but you're rude towards those who aren't as well off as you, and you show no respect whatsoever to the poor or the orphan or the needy. Because from the very outset, what this chapter is trying to do is trying to build a social Islam. An Islam which cares about every sector of society. It's not just concerned about the rich being richer. It's also concerned about whether we as human beings are making the poor poorer. For when you look at the first verse, what does the first verse begin with? It begins by saying, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Ara'ayta alladhi yukadhibu bid-din. Here there is an understanding of what this could be general as well as specific, as in generally it could be telling the Holy Prophet, have you seen the one who belies within the religion, or the one who lies about the religion, or the one who shows no respect in terms of the way that he treats the way the religion orders you to be responsible about yourself. This could be telling the Prophet, have you seen? Or indeed it could tell us, you know what? Have you reflected if you are that type of character? Because the sabab al-nuzul according to a lot of narrators, is that these particular verses were revealed about Abu Sufyan. Abu Sufyan was one of the aristocrats of Arabian society, and indeed his wife and him were amongst the most vicious enemies of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These people, being vicious enemies of the Holy Prophet, were also people in quite privileged positions in Mecca. They felt that they were the ones who were protecting the heritage of Ishmael and Abraham and not Muhammad. And so publicly they'd have many displays of religiosity. There was a day in the week where the person who would give away the most meat towards the poor, the orphan, would be the one most revered within Arabian society. Abu Sufyan felt, well, you know what? I want to perform an act which some may call Riya, which is what? Which is to put myself in a position where I can be seen by everyone. As in when we come later to the word Yura'un, we'll come to this understanding of what? Or this understanding that we're the ones who are going to show off with our acts of worship. You find that Abu Sufyan, him and his people would eat 2 camels a day. As in he'd sit, have the biggest feasts. They'd have 2 camels a day. And when one day he gave away some camel meat towards one orphan child, that orphan child thought, you know what, let me go and ask Abu Sufyan again. Considering Abu Sufyan publicly had given me some meat, so that orphan thought, well, you know what, if he's given me meat before, then surely he's not going to reject me again. Yet subhanallah, when you look at what's happened, he went towards Abu Sufyan actually pushed him away. The Quran, when it looks at this, the Quran, when it says ara'ayta, what does the Quran want us to do? You see, originally sometimes in the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may begin an ayah of the Quran, alam tara kayfa, or he may begin ara'ayta. Sometimes alam tara, sometimes ara'ayta. With alam tara, it's the Prophet maybe in a quite difficult moment in his life, referring back to an incident, Allah telling him, didn't you see what took place there? With ara'ayta, he may be in a stronger position, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling him, did you see? Here you find that sometimes some of the scholars have said that ara'ayta is did you not see, a reference to an incident like, for example, alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil, or when Allah says, how did you not see what was done with Ad or with Thamud? Here it's ara'ayta. You may be in a stronger position at the moment, and I want you to see that, you know what, look at the behavior of this particular personality, Abu Sufyan. Ara'ayta alladhi, yes? There's a pinpointing here towards a particular individual in terms of who has performed this act. Yukadhibu. This person, when it's mentioned, this particular act of belying or lying, this is mentioned in the mudhari', meaning, you know what, this person will continue to lie. Continue to lie about the religion of Allah, about his responsibilities to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And indeed, I find something very interesting that when people translate the word deen here, they translate deen not just necessarily with religion, but they translate deen with something which gives you a more varied understanding of social responsibility. Some have translated deen to be in reference to the Day of Judgment. So here the translation would therefore become, have you not seen, yes, or do you not see the one who belies the Day of Judgment? Why deen for the Day of Judgment? Well, we know, if you look at the origin of the word deen, it refers to a certain loan that is taking place between us and somebody else. And there is a loan between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we have responsibilities which are going to be made apparent and we're going to be questioned about on the Day of Judgment. A person who doesn't believe in the Day of Judgment will be what? Will be one who doesn't care about hurting any member of society, because they don't believe there is going to be a day where they're going to be put to task or questioned about their behavior. So here you find with Abu Sufyan, the Quran is saying, have you not seen the one who consistently lies in relation to the Day of Judgment? He doesn't care about religion and doesn't care about the Day of Judgment, yes? فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُّ الْيَتِيمِ. You want to see the biggest proof that he doesn't care about the Day of Judgment? Then it is clear with the fa' al-atafiyya here, rather than sababiyya. I would think that there is a connection. If you look at the mufassirun, many point to the fact that there's a connection. Have you seen the one who lies about the Day of Judgment and lies about religion and its role as a whole? For he is the one, yes? Which one? He is the one who harshly pushes away the orphan. If I don't care about a day of justice, what am I going to do? When I don't care about a day of justice, I will hurt anyone. Because I don't care that there is a day in which I'm going to be questioned. Yes? I don't care that there is a Malik of Yawm ad-Din. I don't care that there is a master of the day of questioning and judgment. So an orphan comes to me asking me for some meat. I don't care. No one's looking. When I gave him the camel meat before, there were people looking. I needed praise. I needed people to say, wow, look how much of a generous person this is. Whereas now nobody's necessarily looking. So I'm going to be in a situation where there's no praise. So, hey, pushing an orphan, who cares? Yad'u is this idea of a harsh push, yes? You're really being thrust into somewhere or thrust away into a certain position, as Allah mentions on certain ayahs in relation to hellfire, using the same word, that they're going to be thrust straight into the fire of hell. Likewise here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُ الْيَتِيمِ. Yes? Dhalika means, you're literally pointing at the person, yes? And he is the one who pushes away that orphan. You see, in any spectrum or any society in the world today, you will find Muslim or non-Muslim, there is a love for the orphan. If you look at the number of organizations in this world, Muslim and non-Muslim, who care about the orphan, whose heart goes out to the orphan, who recognize that this child lost a mother or lost a father, and therefore they would never want to be in a situation where they hurt that orphan in any way whatsoever. So you find, what do? You find that they try their hardest to make shelter homes for them, to take them away on trips, to find them parents, to recognize that, this person's been hurt at a young stage in their life. You must be someone extremely arrogant and someone rude and someone disgusting in your behavior. That's when these orphans come to you, you push them in that way. When the Quran said, فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُ الْيَتِيمِ, it referred to this idea that the type of people who don't care about the Day of Judgment and the type of people who religion means nothing to them, they're the ones, amongst their acts, they show disrespect towards this orphan children, yes? And I'll tell you, when it is mentioning فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُ الْيَتِيمِ, it's giving out a signal that, listen, there is one of you, O Meccans, there is one of you who's done that. So make sure you reflect, because we know which one that is. And we're going to make sure that that person's brought to task on the Day of Judgment. فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُ الْيَتِيمِ وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَىٰ طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. Even further than that, not only does this person not care about the orphans of the community, he doesn't care about ensuring that food reaches the needy of the community. In the world today, you'll find people seeing poverty in India, seeing poverty in Africa, seeing poverty in certain parts of South America, seeing poverty in certain parts of the Middle East. You find people in those countries, there is no food, and food is a basic right for them, correct or no? Food, and the whole metaphor of Surah Al-Ma'un is this idea that, it should never be anything taskful or difficult for you to offer simple assistance on certain commodities in life, which should be for everyone. Water, food. You should always try your hardest to make sure that that simple assistance is not burdensome on you, but rather you find pleasure in saying, yes, you know what, here, take it. It's not going to really affect me in any way whatsoever. You want a pan, I'll give you a pan. You want a bucket, I'll give you a bucket. You want a shovel, I'll give you a shovel. You want, you want anything else in my house, I'm willing to provide you with anything that you would like. And you find here that when it comes to وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَىٰ طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ, here what's being done? Here you find يَحُضُّ is this idea that they don't care about the cause, or they don't put forward the importance of the cause of whom? Of the needy. The ta'am here, the ta'am is a basic right of these people. It's not something you're doing them a favor in. You see, if I now make some food at home and I go out into society and feed the needy, then that would be called it'am, correct? So you could say that I would become وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَىٰ إِطْعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. But طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ is the food that actually is their right. In Islam, food is a basic right for every human being, and that there's a certain amount of charity that must be given back in order that this basic commodity is provided. In an Islamic state, it's a period of a famine. If someone steals, you cannot punish them, because the problem is the state, the problem is not the thief. Sometimes in the Muslim world today, you find, unfortunately, that there are people who are living in the most lavish, luxurious homes as royal families and not caring about the poverty. And that's why with Surah Al-Ma'un, let's not assume Surah Al-Ma'un is only concerned with talking about that particular time and Abu Sufyan only. There are Abu Sufyans in every generation. There are arrogant rulers who do not care about the basic food rights of the needy within their community. When the Quran said وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ, the Quran was saying, you know what, someone like this does not care about the ta'am of the miskin. The mudaf and the mudaf ilayh here being mentioned very clearly, that this is the idea of food being the right of that needy person. Yes? And you find within the Quran many times the miskin, whether it's in the laws of zakat, whether in the laws of giving away charity in different other ways, the miskin is to be honored and not to be disrespected. The needy are to be protected. The government has to ensure that the needy are looked after. Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, when he was Khalifa, would walk in the streets. If he sees someone begging, he would sit near them and say, how did we reach such a stage? What's happened in our country that there are people begging on the streets in need? And that's why when we are British citizens or we are American citizens, it is vital for us to do what? It's vital for us to be people who care about the needy, be they of our religion or of any other religion. I see the needy on the streets of America. I should be a person who goes and looks after that needy. Never should I be a Muslim who's praying in my mosque 24/7, fasting all the time in Shahr Ramadan, going on Hajj. Yet when I see an individual who is needy, I show no concern for them whatsoever. A Muslim is someone who's a social member of the community, both Muslim and non-Muslim. How many times do you find that Muslims unfortunately lack in their cooperation when it comes to, for example, the soup kitchens where people can be helped? I know very well, for example, that there are certain parts of America where there are Muslims who've gone out to try and help the larger community. Yet you find there are certain Muslims who have not helped once towards the needy. Abu Sufyan, what type of individual was he? He was a person, يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. Yes, and the sign that he is not religious, the sign that he has understood religion, the sign that he doesn't care about the Day of Judgment was what? Was firstly, disrespect to the orphans. Secondly, not putting forward the cause for the food that is the basic right of the needy of our communities today. And that's why many of us must ponder on this, but even ponder more that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues now to mention what? Those people, you see their public acts, therefore their acts of devotion to me are not worth it at all. فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. Yes? There's a connection in which way? Some have tried to divide this and say, well, there's two parts to the discussion of this surah. But why can't there just be one part to the discussion of this surah? If you look at some of the Mufassirun, they've actually looked at connecting the whole thing. Meaning what? Meaning, the likes of Abu Sufyan in Mecca, publicly, they want to have that honor of saying that we are the inheritors of Ishmael's message. We can look after you when you come to Hajj. We also have our forms of prayers in relation to Ibrahim and Ismail and the way that they prayed. All of these acts were what? Were acts in Riya and acts which are known as Sahun. Yes? Because when the Quran mentions the word Sahun and the word Yara'un, the Quran is trying to say that there are people who publicly you see them praying. Yet these people can be what? They are the type of people who publicly will also or privately will also hurt the orphan. They're the type of people who don't care about the needs of the poor. So their prayers, woe be to them. Yes, wail. Wail can be mentioned when you neglect the rights of the human and then you neglect the rights of Allah. Wailun lil-mutaffifin. Or for example, wailun likulli humazatin lumaza. Al-Mutaffifin, you're referring to the people who you short way when it comes to a transaction, or you con in a transaction. Humaza and Lumaza, those people who you stab in the back both privately and publicly, behind their back and in the front. But then also, Wailul lil Musallin, even those who come and pray towards me, yes? Those people, let me tell you something about them. You see them praying towards me, those people, their prayers haven't done nothing for them. If they're the type of people who hurt the orphans, and they're the type of people who don't look after the needy, take your prayers back towards you, don't bring it to me. No doubt there are people in this world, when it comes to their prayers, you'll find them publicly, Allahu Akbar on their salah, and they want to show off. Because what's Riya? Riya is you trying to get in a moment where everyone can look at you and say, MashaAllah, look at the way they pray. Abu Sufyan and the rest of those aristocrats, publicly in front of everyone when it comes to the period of Hajj, they want to get in that position of showing off, yes? They want to get in that position where they come in front of the public and they want to try and show what? That look, you know what, we are actually religious people. We do pray, we do tawaf. Yes, they used to do tawaf at that time with Kaaba. We do sacrifice. They used to sacrifice in the period of Hajj. But you find what? Their prayers were all a show. A person who prays and is someone who hurts an orphan. A person who prays and is someone who does not care at all about the needs of the poor or the needs of those who are needy within the community, that person you find wail. If it's seen as one of the pits of hell, you find that that is reserved for that person. Because that person, you'll find them, they are already neglectful in their prayers. There are many a Muslim, and you find many of them who are neglectful of their prayers. They have no concern in giving their prayers its due right. Yes, they have no concern in establishing their prayers the way the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his family used to establish their prayer. But more than that, their concern is, you know what, let me show off that I pray. It's not that my prayer is between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No, I want to tell everyone, you know what, I'm a person of prayer, I'm a salati, I'm a namazi, I'm someone who is always praying. You don't need to say that. Why do you need to tell the whole world that you're someone who prays? That's between you and Allah. Your behavior outside of your salah will give you an indication of whether salah has had an effect on your life. Salah is that which elevates the human being. Yes? اللهم إني أعوذ بك من نفس لا تشبع ومن قلب لا يخشع ومن علم لا ينفع ومن صلاة لا ترفع. Ya Allah, I seek refuge from you from a prayer that doesn't raise me. The prayer should raise you. The prayer is the mi'raj of the mu'min. It allows you to ascend to the highest levels where you respect the Creator and the creation. It allows you to remain away from the fahsha and the munkar, evil and indecency. If your prayer makes you hurt the orphan, or your prayer makes you hurt the needy, then your prayers haven't helped you. Someone says, well, Abu Sufyan wasn't a Muslim at that time, so how could you say he prayed? No, they all had their own ways of praying. It may not have been necessarily the prayers that we have today, but they all had their own ways of praying. And so therefore what you find was Abu Sufyan would be that type of person. And there's a mention also for us, each and every one of us, yes? The ayah mentions al-musallin. Musallin could be, a plural of people who pray. It could refer to us, that we congregate and we say we're the ones who pray jama'ah and I'm always in the front row of jama'ah. No, don't be someone who does things to show off to the people. I remember two anecdotes, anecdotes which bring a smile, but go to show you. There's one anecdote that a person, he turned around. What did he say? He turned around and he wanted to donate to the mosque to show off. Yes? He saw that, there are others donating. So he wanted to donate to the mosque to show off. Never prays at all. And if he does pray, it's just simply to show off to the community. So when he donated this big amount, there were others who had donated. One was called Ibrahim and the other was called Musa. And you found that they came to the day of Eid and they're praying behind the Imam of the mosque. So when they were praying behind the Imam of the mosque, the Imam recited the Surah of the Quran, which of course mentions the ayah Suhuf Ibrahim wa Musa, the ayah which mentions the scrolls of Abraham and Moses. And you found that this person in his salah was thinking, hold on a minute, my name's Tariq, I've donated, Ibrahim's donated, Musa's donated. How comes the Imam mentions Ibrahim and Musa and doesn't mention me? Yes, this person hasn't got a clue about Quran. All he knows is that, someone in the community called Ibrahim donated $1 million. Another called Musa donated $1 million. He's donated $1 million. And he's like, wait, the Imam in his salah mentions Suhuf Ibrahim wa Musa. He mentions Ibrahim Musa. Why don't you mention Tariq in your salah? So at the end of the salah, he came to the Imam, he's like, Maulana, he's like, yes. He's like, you know what, I donated $1 million. He's like, yes, mashallah, well done. He's like, and others have donated. He's like, yes, brother Ibrahim donated and brother Musa donated. He's like, well, my name. He's like, yes, of course, brother Tariq, I know your name very well. He's like, so why don't you mention me when it comes to, the donation? He's like, we did in the khutbah, we mentioned that brothers Ibrahim Musa. He's like, no, in salah you mentioned Ibrahim Musa. He's like, no, that's actually a surah of the Quran referring to Prophet Ibrahim and Prophet Musa alayhi salam. But you find that person, what's his intention there in the donation? The intention is to show off. The salah is to show off. The front line is to show off. And what's the point? Isn't there that story from the time of the Prophet where the person is praying in a mosque and he's praying and he's reading so beautifully and very loudly, and then he hears the door open and he's thinking, someone's going to come to lead. And so he decides to do what? He decides to recite even slower, and he decides to recite in a quite beautiful tone, and he finishes thinking, who is it that I'm going to see right now. He turns around, there had been a stray cat which entered the mosque. In other words, his salah was what? His salah became to please others but Allah. And that's why shirk can be done when in the area of Riya. In which way? That I try and please others, but I do not want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I pray to please others. I pray to show off to others rather than praying with the concern that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pleased with my prayers. And that's why you find the Ahlul Bayt on many occasions, the family of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, would focus that, you know what, the prayer is the pillar of your religion. If your prayers are accepted, your other acts are accepted. And if your prayers are rejected, then your other acts are rejected. And no doubt about this. If your prayer is accepted, the other acts being accepted means what? Means that I know that when I in salah have praised Allah, I'm never going to hurt one of the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I know that if I haven't understood my prayer, then I'll do anything outside of the prayer. And that's why there is a tradition which says, pray as if you see Allah in front of you. But if you do not necessarily see Allah in front of you and you can't, then imagine that Allah is seeing you. How different would our prayer be? Also reflection upon the prayer. Asking myself, what am I saying? Who am I talking to? And then taking that out into my public life. And that's why you find Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, some of his greatest moments were in his prayer. What you saw in his prayer was embodied in his action outside of his prayer. He was concerned with the public and in terms of looking after the needy and concerned with the wishes of his Lord, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored him, that he was able to serve Allah in public and serve Allah in his prayer in the famous ayah, إِنَّمَا وَلِيُّكُمُ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ وَهُمْ رَاكِعُونَ. Surely your guardians are Allah, His Prophet, and those who believe, those who establish prayer, give away zakat while they are in a state of bowing. Known as the only man who gave away his ring while in a state of ruku', Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib was able to combine both. In 1 minute he helped the needy, and at the same minute Allah used him in his salah to help that needy person as the intermediary. Therefore the Quran says what? That وَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ يَرَاءُونَ وَيَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ. يَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ means what? Means that these people, what is their legacy? They prevent simple assistance to the community at large. Never should a Muslim be someone who does not ponder over the state of the orphans in the world. There is war after war, and there are mothers who are single with the children who are orphans. Never should a Muslim forget about the role and their position when it comes to the orphan. Likewise, never should a Muslim not ponder about their role in relation to the needy in this world. Try and look at someone who's not as well off as you on the streets, and firstly, thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what He's given you. But secondly, try and think about the way you could give back towards such a person. Yes? The way you can help such a person. Never neglect the affairs of the needy. And that's why يَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ meant that this group of people, you see them praying publicly. You see them in front of everyone religious. But in reality, they are ones who prevent the simple assistance of charity from reaching the different sectors of society. The worst disease that can affect the human being is that they are a person who does not care about the state of those who are less well off than them. And that's why if every human being, irrespective of their religion, was to come together and ensure that the simple assistance is provided in their local kitchens, in their local mosques, in their local churches, in their local synagogues, in their local gurdwaras, in their local temples towards the community at large, then you'll see many of the ills of society alleviated. Islam wanted to say that if you respect the Creator, you will always have respect for the creation. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.